I'm extremely pleased to see many known faces, but also many other faces, particularly also the size of the crowd. It's probably about the 5th time I'm welcoming that Oasis crowd here, and every year it's a few more members here and a bit more seniority in the room as well. It's people really moving things in their companies on that topic. Great to see. That was for me the biggest inspiration this morning when I came down, meeting these people, seeing them. And that's maybe already the contents of my speech, kind of sharing a bit of that excitement I have about where this Oasis movement is going. And it's, you've seen, maybe if I go for the next slide, the title, there is my title, A Glass Half Full or Half Empty, was the question I put down somewhere in June, also with one of my team. So, well, where are we going with this Oasis thing? 10 years, maybe 12 years. That's me kind of operating that. Slido, in case there is a question to me particularly, you can still position that as well. Not sure if let's leave it here. With the team, where is this Oasis going? How fast do we get forward? Is that too slow? Do we get anywhere? So sometimes these concerns come up also within Swiss Re, where probably many of you know we're a strong backer of Oasis. And that's where I put down that title so already 3 months ago. And today I have to say, well, there's no question for me where this glass is. It's half full, or actually way more than half full. That's what I learned also this morning. So I will share also a few of these impressions. And sorry if there's too much passion or energy about this topic. And there's a lot of promotion already you heard, and maybe I repeat myself, but still bear with me and give it a try. That's my key message. Give it a try with Oasis, all these open source assets. Just a great experience, learning value. You kind of start to see, oh, it's growing, it's sprouting everywhere out of the grounds of an opportunity here or there. I'm also standing here as kind of the one introducing the afternoon. So the second half is a bit tougher than the morning. I think we have 2 bigger blocks to go through. With green, we marked important blocks. So that's the coffee break. That's 2:45. Very important, these events. I think in the morning it was mentioned that the community around this Oasis is one of the big assets, and that's what we create here, and that's where this coffee break probably is one of the most important events here in the mix. But before that, me talking probably for 10 minutes, there was a brief intro by David here sitting in front on the exciting things you do on the flood side. Then we look at flood a bit from multiple angles in a podium discussion. And that's then just before the coffee break. Later, that's the pièce de résistance, the long block we have to go through with 2 bigger panels, but very relevant topics, I think, for the industry. Model validation, key concern probably for many amongst us here, at least from the model practitioner side, and some very senior kind of experienced people discussing that here under the lead of Dicky. And 1 hour later, we look into earthquake risk, which is the one nowadays a bit less in the news. Well, Turkey has brought it up again a bit, but for a while it's about, we call it secondary perils. You might call it, I don't know, hail, tornado, whatever. But kind of going back to earthquake, closing, and then again, green box, that's what you have to mark down. The drinks outside here, where meet, digest, connect, and already lunch for me was amazing in terms of just the discussions I had. And I hope it's the same for you guys. And don't forget to also speak to all the vendors. I think it's part of that community to just get that flavor. So an exciting afternoon, but 2 tougher blocks to go through. About Swiss Re in this Oasis context. So for me, it should be just a speech to encourage you again to do more here. That's a bit our realistic challenge I'm facing here. I call it me with the team. We're about 55 people right now looking at Nat Cat. Probably many of you know that. Is there some water somewhere? Works again? Works again. Yeah, it works again, so fine, thanks. We build our proprietary platform, and clearly some of these 55, that's not all earthquake, that's not all wind. There's also quite a bit of infrastructure building, keeping kind of all these model components alive, dealing with exposure data and all these problems you know as well. But if you're a vendor subscriber, probably some of these problems are solved for you. You buy that, we build it. So to put these 55 in perspective, see also a few other impressive figures. So we run 200 models. You can be proud of that. On the other hand side, it also means 200 models to keep alive and keep updated. So a reasonable challenge in that mix. And you see also, again, we call it secondary perils. I know that's why I'm mentioning. Many people hate in the meantime this term, but still it bothers the industry, it bothers us. We've added some 30 of these models into the mix, and there's way more to come in that angle, and I'll link to that later. So quite a formidable challenge here of dealing with ever more perils to model, while you cannot just multiply resources you throw at that. So looking at new ways of producing that inside these model contents, perspectives, updating models, it's clearly very high on our agenda, and Oasis is clearly a part of that. And I'm looking at Beat here. Many of you know him probably. He's, for us, kind of the guy really having been driving the Oasis engagement, where probably if you just focused on let's get our models done, we might have left it aside already 5, 6, 7 years ago. So thanks, Beat, as well, to keeping us kind of engaged in that. Today, I'm amazed of what you can do with Oasis. Starts with this event. I'm sharing 3 stories, and then connect. Also realized this morning I've taken a few notes of what others said, and probably I'm repeating here what others said as well. Earthquake China was a topic already last year, where we engaged in quite a broad industry collaboration. It was the first time, I think, in such a broad collaboration with a broker, with a competitor, with I think a client of us. I don't have the full list now in front of me, but we could exchange on the basis both of GEM, that's another open source asset, so let's not just be Oasis focused, but also the Oasis piece allowing that dialogue, that you kind of collaborate while not infringing with any kind of competitive problems you could kind of generate. Quite impressive. And we mentioned last year, kind of we've done a big advancement for us now this year. Now it's also, which was a challenge where we needed also Oasis helping us dealing with what we call single risk, so kind of the high granularity of model usage. There were a few features that were just missing, and how you deal with large industry, kind of single facultative or direct accounts. And we've built that now. Actually, it's September 17. In 10 days, it goes live, this piece of the model for us in an operative use. The first full Oasis model, which is just used as any other model, so an underwriter will not see a difference for us. But for us, it's a big game changer, as we have now this capability in full. You know, it's done now for China, and whatever comes next, we can do it. Quite amazing in that. Then the technical steering group was mentioned this morning. So we're also part of it. There's, I believe, 11 other parties to it. On one hand side, it's the technical piece. On the other hand side, it's kind of this standardization of the dialogue, kind of focusing in on what does the industry need versus individuals need, individual kind of model builders. I need here a feature. No, it's kind of setting priorities, and disaggregation is one of the topics we needed and was also pushed by this body. So it's getting features done, but also the dialogue, kind of harmonizing, I think also the data side of things, and how do we speak about structures and how to model these. Enormous value, what I get back there also from the team, that this is happening. Part of this is also, we call it technical steering group. This year is also technical steering group. I think we built here views on where to move. And the last one, that's still a bit fresh. That's kind of looking forward. Probably 2-3 weeks ago, we came to the conclusion after a bit of intensive study. Yeah, for flood modeling, I think we look for collaboration outside as well. Of how can we co-development, how can we maybe buy and build portions of it? So there's a few usual suspects you can speak to build more flood modeling capabilities, where just beyond maybe the scale of what we can deal with. And the amazing piece is how important Oasis becomes in that mix of kind of being able to also deal with, let's say, components out of a flood model. It's not just about licensing a full model. Maybe it's a very peculiar use case for somebody like us who builds its own model, but so you can look at hazard data, and this morning the Fathom colleague was mentioning ground elevation data, all sorts of pieces where you can plug and play, and Oasis provides a platform where you can do that. And quite amazing there again, just sharing the energy I have on these 3 stories to encourage you eventually also to think of where could you make out some use. And I've here noted down a few of these comments I heard this morning. So from Ben, I heard industry dialogue as a key asset. From Sinus, from SCORE, kind of, again, he was mentioning the TSG, so this technical steering group, as well as a big asset to kind of drive the priorities. Paul on Sompo he was very explicit on the access to a user community, which I think we start to create here, or we have started over the years, and gets very lively. Do things together was one sentence he mentioned as well. Yes, we can do more things. Cost is an issue in our industry, and CAD modeling is a very important part of that cost. In Fathom, I mentioned already, you can start to kind of do model development in pieces, also share pieces, kind of discuss and just modular elements. And kind of the most amazing piece was Renew Risk. I'm not sure if they're still here, but this Oasis platform really enables kind of such a small, I call it small, sorry if I've maybe look at it too small, startup to engage in this CAD modeling community. 20 years ago, impossible. 10 years ago, still very difficult. Nowadays, it's possible. So super cool. So actually, my big foghorn message before letting you go to the more interesting contents topic is this accelerated learning and better outcomes at the lower price point. I think that's a bit summarizing our experience as Swiss Re, and it's this yellow tagline, give it a try. There's so many ways you can give it a try, but I know this first hurdle you have to take, and probably it's not your corporation or your company making that hurdle, it's you as individuals. Take the courage out. I tried, and some of the examples we heard this morning. So I hope my energy helps you also a bit to kind of give it a try. There's so much we can gain as an industry.